Ryan is Special Operations Marines, ex-Special Operations Marines, is currently employed by the U.S. government, and in his spare time, free time, is an abolitionist and has helped around the world to free people from sex trafficking. And the drug game and addiction ties right into the middle of all that.
I remember one time I was sitting in church while I was in the military, and somebody was telling me about the sex trade overseas. And I remember talking to God in kind of a silent prayer, kind of accusing him of, see, God, this is why it's so hard for people to follow you when you just sit back and let this type of evil happen. How can you, being all powerful, allow this to happen on your watch? And I kind of felt the conviction of God say, no. How can you sit there and do nothing?
You've been able to see a different perspective than, so you haven't been in the middle of addiction yourself. It's never been a struggle of yours, but you've been able to see a different perspective of maybe the economy of drugs, internationally, what it looks like long before it ever makes it to the addict's hand. What would be something you would want to share with somebody who just hasn't opened up their perspective to what it looks like on the global scale? What would be the kind of insight you would want to share to somebody to just maybe bring it a little bit more front and center?
Believe it or not, everywhere there's humans, there's human trafficking. And I know a lot of people in the US feel like, well, surely not in my neighborhood. Yeah, in your neighborhood too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. So
same goes for drug trafficking.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's definitely heartbreaking to see the potential on what a human's supposed to be doing with their creativity, and how evil kind of hijacks our creativity to then use that instead of to lift others up, actually to cripple and destroy other people. So there's one case that I was volunteering for specifically in South Africa. To protect her name, we call her Blondie, and she was actually kidnapped at 14 years old. It's interesting that a lot of these situations, the parents don't really have a vision for what their children can become, but in that vacuum, there are drug cartels and trafficking pimps and slave drivers that really have a vision for what you could become as a kid. And so for this 14-year-old girl, she found herself drugged.
The fact that I could at least take my drug, not to feel what I'm going through. It felt like it was a short period of time, but it wasn't. It was 3 months. It's like they owned my soul. Everything about me changed. The way I looked at life, the way I think. I just wasn't myself. I can't explain to people what they did. I don't fit in anymore. I'm not like people anymore. I don't think like people anymore. I can't see life the way people does because of what happened. That they're doing so many rituals and they're doing so many things that we are not educated about. They let me every night sleep with a specific necklace on my neck. The thing that I'd like to tell you guys, my point I want to make is that trafficking is not just by body, but it is by soul, it is by mind. It's my heart that's been trafficked. I don't know how to find it.
Now, many of them are turned quickly, and then because they're under these chemical restraints, they do the will of their master. And many times it's drug trafficking across international borders. And
how is it we begin to reach people in that space and see them live into their true identity of freedom and with God?
Right. Well, I want to tell you that the people that find themselves in those situations, what they don't need is your pity. They don't need your sympathy. They don't need you to put on a faked crying act for the things that they've gone through. What they need is hope. They need to know that it is possible to come back from the depths of depravity that they've experienced. They need to know that healing is actually still possible.
We have to be intentional, and You have to be in the mess in order to drop off the message. We can't run away from the brokenness. Actually, if I'm called to follow the king, then I need to do what he did. And actually, all he did was go to the broken.